Last year, I moved into a small apartment. It was off a busy street where I hoped to find some peace as a freelance graphic designer. At first, it was quiet, just me and my work. But then, strange things started happening. I remember the first time I heard it, a giggle, soft like a whisper. I was sitting at my desk late at night. At first, I thought it was just the neighbors. Kids can be loud. But that laughter stuck with me. I went to bed, but my heart raced. I kept tossing and turning, imagining shadows dancing on my walls. Days went by. The footsteps began next. They weren't steady. It was like someone was pacing above me. It happened at odd hours, and I couldn't make sense of it. I heard people whispering, but I could never catch the words. It felt like someone was talking just out of reach. One evening, I opened my door and found a small red toy car on the floor. It was dusty and worn. I stared at it, confused. Who would leave this here? I picked it up, feeling its cold plastic against my skin. A chill ran through me as I realized no child lived nearby. I put it back down, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was meant for me. The noises grew more intense. It was as if the giggles and footsteps were mocking me. I tried to ignore them, but I felt something change in my apartment. It felt different, heavy. I started avoiding the hallway at night. I couldn't handle the pounding in my chest. What was happening? One night, I pressed my back against the wall, heart racing. A loud thud jolted the air above. And there it was again, that giggle, shrill and chilling. My knees felt weak. I wanted to run, but my feet wouldn't move. I stood frozen, wondering who could be up there. Was someone watching me from the other side of the wall? The very next night, I heard it clearer than before. "Come play with me." A small voice, soft and sweet, cut through the silence. I spun around, expecting to see a child or something even more terrifying. But the hallway was empty. I felt cold sweat running down my back. My instincts screamed at me to leave. Days turned into sleepless nights. I called my friends, trying to laugh it off, but they could only offer worries. I remember one night I finally took a deep breath and decided to investigate. I knocked on the door across the hall. Silence. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. I returned to my apartment, the toy car catching my eye. I picked it up again, feeling the weight of it. It felt wrong, just sitting there. My hands trembled. I set it down again and decided to close my eyes. I couldn't keep going like this, thoughts racing. But then I heard something behind me. "Let's play!" The voice sounded closer, right next to me. I turned around, eyes wide, but it was just my empty apartment. My heart fell into my stomach, and I ran to lock the door. I barely slept after that. The whispers grew louder, and the footsteps faster, as if I was being hunted. I felt trapped, just waiting. I never found out what was in those walls or why it wanted me. Every night I held my breath, waiting for that voice to return. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I woke up that morning feeling more exhausted than ever. My dreams were twisted, filled with laughter and shadows. I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was creeping into my life. As I poured a cup of coffee, I glanced at the toy car again. Did it belong to the child from before? If only I had answers. I decided to take a walk that day. Maybe some fresh air would clear my mind. As I stepped outside, I noticed a small group of children playing across the street. They were laughing and running around, completely carefree. I felt a pang of longing, wishing I could share that innocence. But I quickly dismissed it. The sound of their laughter only reminded me of the haunting giggles from my apartment. That evening, as darkness settled in, I was back in my apartment, feeling the familiar chill. I hesitated to turn on the lights. A part of me wanted to avoid drawing any attention. Instead, I pulled out my sketchbook, hoping art could drown out the noise inside my mind. The soft scraping of pencil on paper soothed me. But that calm didn't last long. Just as I began to lose myself in my work, I heard it again. "Let's play." This time, the voice was louder, more insistent. I dropped my pencil, jolted upright, and listened. My blood ran cold. The voice came from inside my apartment, echoing off the walls. Fear gripped me as I glanced around, the shadows in the corners of the room feeling heavier. I grabbed my phone and dialed my friend, but it went straight to voicemail. I was on my own. I mustered the courage to move, stepping cautiously toward the hallway where the sound had come from. I felt like I was being pulled into an unseen whirlpool. That's when I saw the door at the end of the hallway slowly creaking open. It had always been closed. My heart raced. Was this the door to my neighbor's apartment? My mind raced with thoughts of who or what could be on the other side. I wanted to turn back, but curiosity took over. I took a step forward, peering into the darkness. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaking. Silence answered me, thick and suffocating. Then instinct told me to flee. I backed away quickly, returning to my apartment. As I shut the door, I heard the faint sound of children giggling again, just on the other side of the wall. I pressed my back against the door, feeling my breath quicken. I needed to know more. I started to think about my neighbor again. There was something off about her, a closed-off aura. Why did she keep to herself? As I stood there, I came to a decision. I had to confront her, even if it scared me. I glanced once more at the toy car. I felt its eyes on me now, a silent observer. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to find answers. Gathering my courage, I made a plan. I would visit her apartment tomorrow. But deep down, I knew the truth might be worse than the whispers and giggles. What was on the other side of that door? I had to get to the bottom of it all. Little did I know, uncovering the truth would lead me straight into the heart of the darkness. The next day felt heavier than usual. I woke up with dread coiling in my stomach, each tick of the clock pushing me closer to my encounter with the neighbor. I spent the morning pacing my apartment, trying to gather my thoughts. The shadows felt alive, watching me, whispering secrets I could only guess at. Around noon, I finally steeled myself. I walked down the hall, my heart pounding with every step. The door to my neighbor's apartment stood at the end, a silent guardian to whatever lay inside. I paused, my hand hovering over the doorbell. Should I knock or ring the bell? What if she wasn't home? I drew a shaky breath and pressed the button. Silence stretched between the door and me. My stomach twisted as I waited. Just as I was about to turn away, the door creaked open. She stood there, her expression unreadable. The small woman had dark circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't slept in days. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I stammered for a moment, unsure of how to start. I heard some sounds coming from your apartment. I just wanted to know if you were okay." Her eyes narrowed slightly, and for a moment I thought she might close the door. Instead, she opened it wider. "Come in. We should talk." I hesitated, but stepped inside. The apartment was dimly lit, the curtains drawn tight. The air felt heavy, thick with dust and old memories. I glanced around, noticing the walls were lined with children's drawings, stick figures and childish scrawls that looked oddly familiar. "Your kids?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. A flicker of something crossed her face, perhaps sadness or regret. "They were once. Now it's just me." She motioned for me to sit on the worn-out couch. I obliged, still scanning the room. The toy car from the day before caught my eye, placed delicately on a bookshelf as if on display. "I found something," I blurted out, pointing to the car. "Is this yours?" "No," she replied too quickly, her gaze shifting away. She looked almost guilty. "It belonged to a child who passed away." "Passed away?" My pulse quickened. "What happened?" "An accident," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "That child, they were playing outside when..." She paused, as if the words choked her. Things happened. The weight of her words settled between us. My mind raced. And the laughter? I keep hearing it. Is it just echoes? She interrupted, eyes widening. The past never really leaves us. It echoes in the walls. Unease washed over me. What do you mean? Before she could respond, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. A shadow darted past the doorway leading to a dark back room. My breath caught in my throat as I turned to look. What was that? I asked, my voice now barely a whisper. She stiffened, her expression turning frantic. You need to leave, now. As I stood, the laughter returned, echoing off the walls, and realized it wasn't just in my head. Panic surged. I needed to escape, but the weight of the unknown pulled me back. That's when I saw it. The outlines of small footprints, smudged and leading toward the back room. I hesitated, caught between fear and curiosity. What was in that room? And why did the child's laughter resonate as if beckoning me closer? I took a step toward the dark back room, drawn by an unseen force. My heart raced louder than the laughter that filled the air. The chill from within beckoned to me, and for a moment, time seemed to freeze. The woman's frantic expression faded into the background, drowned out by a sense of sheer dread and intrigue. You can't go in there, she cried, her voice sliced through my resolve. But her warning only made me bolder. I couldn't turn back now. I took another step, and she lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Please, you don't understand. Her grip tightened, desperation etched across her face. I met her gaze, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes, a reflection of my own. What's in there? I asked. The past, she muttered, letting go. It's not just echoes. It's trapped. The answer hung in the air, thick like fog. My instinct screamed to run, but my feet felt glued to the floor. I glanced over my shoulder, at the hallway, a flicker of light illuminating the shadows beneath the closed back room door. Curiosity and fear warred within me. Slowly, I lifted my hand toward the doorknob. Don't, she shouted, but I was already turning it, the cold metal biting into my palm. The door creaked open, the darkness spilling out like smoke. I took a breath and stepped inside. The room was small and filled with dust, illuminated only by a single window barred by iron. Old toys lay scattered, broken dolls, a tricycle with rusting wheels, and a tattered blanket that filled the space with a chill of forgotten laughter. The air was thick, heavy with memories that lingered long after they were gone. Then I saw it. In the corner, a small figure emerged, barely visible. I squinted, trying to see better. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling in the musty air. The figure stopped moving, and for a moment there was silence. Then it turned, revealing the face of a child. They looked right at me, eyes wide and pleading. "Help us!" Their voice was soft, almost melodic. I stepped back, heart racing. The laughter echoed more clearly now, intertwining with the child's voice. "What do you need help with?" I stammered, looking frantically around for an escape. "Leave," the child whispered, voice now drowned in laughter. Suddenly, everything went dark. The windows slammed shut, plunging the room into suffocating blackness. I felt a presence, something cold and heavy moving closer. My breath hitched as shadows danced around me, and I spun around, searching for a way out. "Let me out!" I shouted, panic clawing at my throat. Just then, the door swung shut, slammed shut behind me. The echoes of laughter grew louder, relentless, swirling in the darkness. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just a dream. It was a nightmare come alive, and I was right in the center of it. I pounded on the door, desperate to escape, but the laughter overshadowed my pleas. I needed to get out. I needed answers. But first, I had to find a way to escape a nightmare that felt all too real. I stood frozen in the darkness, my palms pressed against the cold, unforgiving door. The laughter was everywhere, surrounding me, echoing off the walls like voices of the past rising from the dead. I pressed my ear to the wood, hoping to hear some hint of reality outside, but there was nothing. My heart pounded in my chest, calling for action. Suddenly, the laughter morphed into whispers, entwining themselves with the shadows. I strained to listen, straining to catch a word, a name, a clue, anything. Help! It was faint but clear, cutting through the chaos. Was it the child? Or was it something or someone else? "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice trembling with uncertainty. I took a hesitant step away from the door, deeper into the dark room. My footsteps kicked up dust that had lain undisturbed for years. The shadows seemed to pulse, mocking my fear. Then a flicker of light caught my eye. I turned to see a small lamp in the corner, its glass surface cracked but still somehow illuminating the space. I rushed toward it, longing for the warmth it promised. As I got closer, I could see that the light flickered like it was trying to stay alive, fighting against the oppressive darkness. That's when I noticed what lay beneath the lamp. A photo, covered in dirt. I knelt down, my breath hitching again. It was a picture of several children, all with wide smiles, their eyes glimmering with the kind of joy that felt so out of place here. They looked familiar, like reflections of the child I had just seen. I picked it up, wiping away the dust with my sleeve. My fingers trembled as I traced the faces. One of them stood out, a boy with dark curls and a cheeky smile. I felt a surge of recognition. "I know you," I whispered, memories tumbling from the depths of my mind. Before I could process this, a sharp sound pierced the air. A thud behind me. I whipped around, heart racing, and saw that the door had begun to tremble as if something was trying to break through. Panic surged back through me. The moment I noticed it, the whispers returned, louder now. "Help us," they begged, urgency coating every syllable. I had to act. I couldn't let whatever was on the other side reach me. I darted toward the window, only to remember the barred iron. I pressed against it, but it wouldn't budge. My heart sank. I was trapped. Then the laughter escalated, turning chaotic, filling my mind. My pulse quickened. I had to escape. I turned back to the lamp, considering my next move, when something large brushed against my leg. I felt cold fingers wrap around my ankle. I screamed, jerking my leg back, but the grip tightened, dragging me down. "Don't leave," someone cried, a voice low and sorrowful. I dropped the photo, letting it slip through my fingers as I sank into the shadows. I kicked frantically, panic overtaking me. The laughter morphed into a shriek, piercing through the walls of my mind. Then everything went black again. And just like that, the room stilled. In the silence, I processed a single thought. If I didn't find a way out soon, I might just be another lost voice, forever trapped in this room of echoes. But that wasn't going to happen. I had to fight, survive. Just as I summoned my courage, I felt something shift in the darkness. A new presence, one that wasn't afraid. And I had no idea who or what it was. I felt it first in my bones, a presence hovering close, uninvited and heavy. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out the whispers that still roamed the edges of my mind. I held my breath, trying to steel myself for whatever was coming next. "Show yourself," I called out, my voice shaking. A chill swept through the room, racing down my spine. I could sense movement, the air thickening, as if it were gathering energy. And then it happened. The small lamp flickered harder, casting an erratic dance of light and shadow. In that glow, I caught a glimpse of a figure. It was fleeting, almost nothing more than an outline, but enough to root me to the spot. I couldn't tell if it was a child or something much darker. "Help us," it whispered again. And it was clearer this time. "Please." My instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't. This had to be connected to the photo. The boy with dark curls and that cheeky smile flashed through my mind. He looked so alive, so full of hope. I remembered a time when I had been that innocent, before the burden of uncertainty had settled so heavily in my life. I needed to know if he was in that room with me. "Who are you?" I asked, fighting against the trembling in my voice. The figure hesitated, the shadow swirling. It gasped, then fell silent. My blood ran cold. "Help us!" the voice cried again, this time tinged with desperation. The door rattled once more, and the wood groaned under pressure. Whatever was on the other side was relentless. "Help!" It was a chorus now, the voices blending, rising higher, more frenzy. They pressed against my ears like a tangible weight. A flash of clarity struck me. The photo! I scrambled to retrieve it from the ground, wiping the dirt off once more. My hands shook as I held it up to the lamp's light, searching for clues. All their faces stared back, innocent, but somehow cursed. I needed to figure out their connection. "Tell me your names," I shouted, desperation twisting inside me. The figure lingered just within reach of the light, writhing as if caught between two worlds. That's when I saw it, a bright object around the boy's neck. It shimmered, reflecting the flickering light. When I recognized its shape, a locket, my stomach twisted. I found myself speaking again. "The locket, where is it?" The figure jolted, drawing closer, its features momentarily illuminated. I could see now it was a girl, her face etched with pain. "They took it," she whispered, her voice barely there. "Who took it?" My pulse raced, knowing I was running out of time. I could still hear the pounding on the door, growing louder, more violent. "Help us," she repeated, a plea heavy with despair. Just then, the door splintered, and I recoiled. I had to get answers, and I had to get out. But there were too many questions in too little time. The very air around me became thick with tension. And then everything went dark. The laughter stopped, the whispers faded. I was left alone, knowing that whatever awaited me in that darkness was more terrifying than I could ever imagine. I gasped, my lungs craving the air that had suddenly vanished. I was plunged into a suffocating void, where echoes of cries and the phantom presence of the girl faded into nothingness. Panic clawed at my chest as I stumbled through the darkness, trying to feel my way back to the faint glow of the lamp. Just as I thought I was lost, I felt the thing I had been dreading. Cold fingers brushed against my shoulder. I froze, every nerve ending sparking to life. I swung around, desperate to see, but there was nothing. "Who's there?" I shouted, my voice cracking. Silence enveloped me. It felt like the darkness was listening, absorbing my fear. I focused on my breathing, trying to calm myself. I needed to find the light again. Suddenly, a faint flicker returned, casting a hesitant glow across the room. I moved toward it, my heart racing. As the darkness receded, I saw the girl again, but she looked more distorted this time. Her face was twisted in a silent scream, and her eyes were wide, filled with sorrow. "Where's the locket?" I pleaded, barely able to get the words out. Her lips parted, but no sound came forth. Instead, the air grew dense once more, and I could hear the sound of the door behind me cracking further. Whatever was trying to get in was almost there. I pressed closer to the girl, gripping the photo tightly. "Please, tell me what to do." Then she pointed, a small movement, but it held power. I followed her gesture. There, on the floor beside the lamp, something glinted, a small metal object half hidden in the shadows. I lunged for it, fumbling as I picked it up. It was a locket. Its surface was cold and smooth, etched with intricate designs that felt strangely familiar. My breath caught. This had to be it. The girl's expression shifted, a flicker of hope piercing through her fear. As I opened the locket, I was met with tiny photographs of the children from the photo I had found,
their smiles frozen in time. But something was wrong. There were only 3 faces instead of 4. The boy I recognized was missing. "Where is he?" I asked, panic rising again. Suddenly, the girl's form began to waver, her image fading as if the very air around her was stealing her away. "He's lost," she managed to say, before the darkness thickened again, swallowing her voice. The door burst open. The shadow of someone loomed large, silhouetted against the light behind them. My heart seized. "Get out!" I screamed, backing away, clutching the locket tightly like it was my only lifeline. The figure hesitated, confusion breaking through the darkness. "What are you doing here?" it demanded. But I couldn't make sense of anything going on. I was trapped between the haunting memories of the past and an impending threat. In a wild rush of adrenaline, I turned and bolted towards the window, ready to escape, when a thought crossed my mind. The locket. It was the key to all of it, my only hope. But as I glanced back, I realized that whatever was hunting me wasn't just a shadow. It knew me. It wanted me. I felt a shiver down my spine. With the locket in hand and my heart in my throat, I forced myself to remember. This was just the beginning. I needed to get out. The shadow lurked just beyond the door, and the air felt heavy with unspoken threats. Clutching the locket,
I darted for the window. The glass felt cool against my fingertips as I fumbled to pry it open. I could hear the figure moving cautiously behind me, and my pulse quickened with every passing second. Just as the window finally creaked open, the shadow stepped into the room, revealing a man with a face I almost recognized. Panic surged through me, mixing with confusion as I hesitated. "Who are you?" I called, my voice trembling. "I'm looking for you," he replied, his tone urgent but pleading. I glanced at the locket, its cold surface now radiating heat. Was this man connected to all of this? Without thinking, I threw myself through the window and landed hard on the grass outside. The chill of the night air struck me like a slap. I scrambled to my feet, ready to run, but before I could take a step, I heard the man behind me calling out, "Wait, please!" I paused, turning back. The figure was no longer a shadow. He was a real person, his brow furrowed with worry. "You don't understand," he shouted, reaching out. "The locket is dangerous." "Dangerous?" My heart raced anew. "What do you know about it?" He took a deep breath, leaning against the wall for support. "These children," his voice faded for a moment as he gathered himself. "I've been searching for them. The boy in the photo, he's the key." Suddenly, a sharp wind blew past, howling like a wailing spirit, and I shivered. I looked around, half expecting something to leap from the shadows. "What do you mean, the key?" I pressed. "Unlocking the memories is not easy. It can lead to things best left hidden," he said, glancing nervously at the darkened house behind him. "You've drawn attention. Someone is looking for you, and not just me." "What do you mean?" I demanded. His eyes darted over my shoulder, and I turned, gut instinct screaming that we were not alone. That's when I saw it. A figure, cloaked in darkness, was lurking near the edge of the yard. It watched me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. My throat tightened. "What is that?" I whispered. He looked back at me, his expression grim. "We have to leave, now." With fear propelling me, I grabbed his arm, half dragging him away from the house. But he hesitated again, staring back into the darkness. "The boy, he wanted to help, but it's complicated. You need to find the others." The others? My mind raced. The 3 faces in the locket were only part of the story. Was there a true connection to the boy I didn't know yet? "What do you mean, find the others?" But just then, the darkness shifted, the lurking figure inching closer. I felt the temperature drop. "Run!" he shouted, lunging forward to pull me along. As I raced down the street, my thoughts tangled in the chaos. There was so much I didn't understand, and the danger was escalating. The night was far from over, and I was just beginning to peel back the layers of a mystery that threatened to consume me whole. With every step, I felt the darkness breathing on my back, reminding me that it was only the beginning and the answers were nowhere in sight. I could hear the thud of my heart in my ears as we sprinted through the dimly lit street. The chill in the air cut through my clothes, but the dread coursing through me kept me moving. "Who are the others?" I panted, casting quick glances over my shoulder. The darkness felt alive, inches away and closing in. "They're friends of mine," he said, barely keeping pace. "If we find them, we can unlock what the locket hides. You need to know the truth." I could barely process his words. Friends? What truth? We turned a corner, and the streetlights flickered ominously above us, casting long shadows that seemed to dance and twist. "Does that thing follow us?" I gasped, looking back once more. The cloaked figure was gone, but I could still feel its presence, like a chill dripping down my spine. "There's more going on than you realize," he replied, panting. "That shadow, it feeds on fear. The more scared we are, the stronger it gets." That thought sent a fresh wave of panic crashing over me. What does it want? To keep us from remembering. His gaze turned serious, a flicker of desperation in his eyes. It wants to erase the past completely. We need to find the others before it's too late. I stumbled but caught myself. And then what? What happens if we find them? He hesitated, his expression darkening. "There's no telling what we'll uncover, but it's our only chance to stop this." As we turned down another alley, I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye, a flash of movement. My breath caught, and I instinctively drew closer to him. "Did you see that?" I whispered, my voice trembling. "We need to keep moving," he urged, looking back at the shadowed entrance we had just passed. I nodded, but I was torn between running and turning back to investigate. I barely knew this man, and I had no idea if I could trust him. The locket felt like a weight in my pocket, pulling me down. Yet it was also a source of strange strength. Then, from behind us, a voice echoed through the alley. It was soft at first, like a distant whisper. "Help! Help!" My stomach dropped. I froze. "What is that?" "It's the boy," he replied, urgency etched across his face. "We have to go back. He needs us." Instinct kicked in. My feet moved before my mind caught up. I turned and dashed back down the alley, heart racing. "Where?" I shouted. "Where is he?" "There," he pointed, and my eyes locked onto a small figure at the end of the alley, barely illuminated by the flickering light of a street lamp. As we got closer, I could see the boy's frightened face. His pale skin almost glowed in the darkness. He was reaching out, trembling, and I could see the same locket swinging from his neck. "Help me, please," he cried. But before we could reach him, the shadows around us thickened, swirling like dark smoke. The whispering grew louder, a cacophony of fearful voices mixing into a chilling chant. My instinct screamed at me to turn and run, but I gripped the newfound determination inside me. The boy's voice was too desperate, too close to someone I had yet to understand. Then everything went dark. I stumbled, losing my balance as darkness enveloped me, swallowing the alley whole. Panic surged through my veins, but I fought against it, desperate to find a way back to the boy. I could still hear him calling out, his voice cut through the darkness like a beacon. "Please, help me!" But the shadows danced around us, isolating me from the world. I felt the cold brush against my skin, a reminder of all I had faced. Then, just as suddenly, the darkness shattered like glass, and I found myself standing back in the dimly lit room from before. I was crouched on the ground, the locket clutched tightly in my hand. The air was heavy with silence, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just engulfed us. I glanced around, trying to piece together what had happened. The boy with dark curls stood before me, trembling yet full of resolve. "You came back," he whispered, a spark of hope igniting in those wide eyes. I didn't know where else to go," I admitted, uncertainty mixing with the fragile courage brewing inside me. "But we have to get out of here.
I can't let it take you." The boy shook his head, the fear in his expression unmistakable. "You can't leave without the others. They're trapped here too." He pointed back towards the darkness, where shadowy figures began to emerge, faces that had accompanied the boy in the picture. "They need your help to be free." Just as he spoke, the shadows morphed into the lost children, their small forms flickering like candles in a gusty wind. The urgency in their eyes mirrored the boy's. Panic threatened to crush my heart. "How do I help?" I cried out, desperation clawing at my throat. "You have the key," the boy exclaimed, gesturing towards the locket in my hand. "You must choose the right memory to set us free." I felt the weight of his words settle on my shoulders. Memories. My mind raced through the images of the children from the photo and the connection I felt with them. I needed clarity. What do I do? "Open the locket," he urged. "Focus on the boy, the one who's missing. Find him." As the shadows crept closer, threatening to snatch us back into their depths, I steeled myself. My
fingers trembled as I flicked open the locket once more. The familiar faces stared back, but one was blank, unnaturally so. "Where are you?" I murmured, wishing for answers. And then I remembered, a fragment of a memory that felt distant yet achingly close. The boy's laughter rang in my ears, bright and full of life. I thought of innocence lost and the joy that laughter brought before it turned into something dark. "Picture him," the boy urged, voice rising in urgency. Nostalgia swelled within me as I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to unlock the warmth that memory brought. I felt the energy around us shift, shadows thickening, pulsing in time with my heartbeat. "I see him!" I shouted, desperation turning into determination. "I see his smile." Suddenly, a light erupted from the locket, bright and blinding. I shielded my eyes, but the warmth spread through my body, igniting something deep within me. "Now!" the boy shouted. "Call him!" "Come back!" I cried, feeling the power of my voice fuel the light erupting from the locket. Images swirled within, memories dancing, filling the air with warmth and laughter. "We need you!" In that very moment, the darkness sucked in its breath. The shadows convulsed and swirled, releasing the figures of the children, their forms bathed in the radiance emanating from the locket. A figure stepped forward from behind them, revealing the boy I had longed for, the boy who was lost but not forgotten. "Let's go," he called, voice vibrant and alive. The shadows shrieked in anguish as he reached for the others, drawing them in with the force of hope. "What's happening?" I shouted, feeling the shadows claw at my ankles. The boy turned to me, smiling. "You have freed us. Now we can leave." The warmth enveloped me, pulling me along with them as they united in a circle of light. The laughter, the echoes of innocence, bounced off the walls, disintegrating the dark that had threatened to consume us. Then everything crashed together. The brightness exploded into a million shards of light, and for a moment I felt weightless, surrounded by laughter and joy, like being embraced by the sun. When I opened my eyes once more, I found myself standing outside, the night air cool against my skin, the darkness dissipated. But as I caught my breath, the reality sank in. I was alone in the alley, save for the locket I still clutched in my hand. They were gone. Had it all really happened? The reality of my surroundings clawed at me. Still, lingering questions remained. What had happened to the children? Were they truly free? And that shadow, the one that had haunted me, was it gone? Or was it merely waiting for another moment of fear to rise again? With trembling hands, I pocketed the locket, its cold surface nearly burning against my skin. I stood beneath the street lamps, the distant echoes of laughter hanging in the night air, reminding me the past never truly leaves us. And sometimes the truth remains just out of reach. I turned and began walking away, the questions swirling like shadows at my feet. But I felt different now, a little braver perhaps. The night might never reveal all its secrets, but there was comfort in knowing that I had faced my fears, if only for a moment. I walked away from the darkness and into the light, unsure of what lay ahead, but ready to face whatever future awaited.